Okay, I'm going to show you how to do a no-frills biped rig using rigify. I'm not going to go through all of the steps of using rigify because, again, no frills. Okay, first thing, I have this biped that is kind of bloopy and whatever, but it'll do the job. First thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I have rigify installed. So in the Blender preferences under add-ons, scroll down and make sure you have rigify. That's going to add a few new skeletons set up for rigging. So once you have that installed, go to add armature, and we want the human meta rig, and it's going to go ahead and drop it right on the right on the center there where we have our 3D cursor. And as you can see, the rig is really tiny in comparison to the biped we have. So I'm going to scale the biped to the rig. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and move it up, and you can see that the origin of the biped is way up here. So we're going to wind up changing that. So I'm going to scoot it up so that it's almost touching the ground-ish, and then let's go ahead and turn X-ray on so we can see where it's going through the middle there. Something like that. Okay, and once we get it where we want it, approximately, I'm going to go ahead and set it, right-click on it and set to origin to 3D cursor, and then that'll set it down there. So when we scale this, which we'll have to do a few times, scale, scale. So once we scale this, it will approximately scale to fit within the rig there. And I'm just going to set it up so that pretty much it fits without issues. And then you'll notice that the rig is facing one direction and the model is facing the other direction. And rather than just fixing the rig, I'm just going to rotate the I'm going to rotate the model, and I'm going to go ahead and set that to rotate 180 degrees. So now it's fully set up. I'm going to scoot it forward a little bit so that the face is on the inside, like that. You can see that it's on the inside because the stuff that's on the inside is just plain black as opposed to all these dashed lines we have. Now, another thing that I need to do ahead of time is you'll notice that this rig has, or this mesh has almost 600,000 faces on it. It's going to take a really long time to get it to work after I get it all rigged up. So ahead of time, I'm going to go ahead and go into the object data for this model. Go to remesh, click quad, and then quadraflow remesh, and set it up so that I have 50,000 faces. I know that's a lot, but it'll speed things up. And I'm going to let quadraflow remesh do its thing. Okay, so now that's done. We haven't lost all that much detail. I'll go ahead and shade smooth that. Okay, Now, the next step is to actually get this thing set up so that the arms line up and the fingers line up and the legs line up. We'll start with the legs because that's going to be the easiest. Pick one side. I like doing the left-hand side, and by left-hand side I mean the left-hand side of the character or your right-hand side. So we'll start from this side. Select the meta rig, and down here in your modes there's another mode called pose mode. Click pose mode and we'll select the leg, and we want to move from top down or in to out. We're going to just rotate this a little bit, and we're only going to work on one side and work our way out from there. As you can see, this is not quite long enough, so I'm going to switch to local here so I can make it longer in the local axis, and then grab the foot, same thing here, make it a little bit longer, and I can go ahead and also rotate it slightly. Okay, so the leg is done. Maybe rotate it up a hair. Something like that. That's close enough. Okay, so we've done one leg. We're also going to do the arm on the same side. And we'll wind up transferring, copying and pasting this over to the other side so we don't have to do both sides and then accidentally screw it up. Since this biped model is already mirrored across the so we don't I'm just going to rig one side and then, or set up one side and then we'll copy it over. Okay, so from the top here we can see that this whole shoulder blade thing is way too far back, so we're going to go ahead and rotate it inward or forward slightly. So that's a little bit better, and we'll take the arm and rotate it back. The forearm needs to be moved up a little bit, and this is probably the easiest time to go ahead and rotate it so that it is right where it's supposed to be. I'm going to go ahead and go into quad mode here so I can see all four sides. Come on, I want that one. Okay. So, this is a little bit long. I'm going to shrink it down just a hair. Okay. Now, an important thing to know is that the thumb is attached to the forefinger in here. So if you rotate one, you'll rotate both. So make sure you rotate your forefinger into position and scale it appropriately before you do your thumb, because if you don't, you'll wind up accidentally getting the thumb in the if you do the thumb first and then you rotate and adjust your forefinger, your thumb will get scaled too or rotated also, and you don't want that. So make sure you get that done. And it's fairly easy to do the fingers. Just rotate each one, get it into the position you want it. I usually do the forefinger, then the thumb, then the pinky, and then into the middle finger. So Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set this to local. So when I... Whoa, that is not what I wanted to do. So when I do this, hopefully it doesn't act insane. There we go. That's where I want this. And don't worry about switching between your local and global orientations here. Whatever works best for whatever you're doing. Okay, that's close enough. I'm going to make this a little bit longer. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Rotate. Come on. Rotate. And if you are having problems getting it exactly where you want it, you can always hold shift down while you rotate. And that will give you a little bit finer control over it. This is almost where I want it, except these bones need to be a little bit longer. This particular biped was not made to be proportional exactly. It was made to practice rigging on. Okay. Alright, so that's good enough for the hand. And so we've gotten one leg and one hand done. We're not going to worry about the face. Okay, so let's get it back into the regular view. Once you have it rigged up the way you want, go ahead and grab the arm and the leg, and we need that shoulder blade. Okay, then press Control-C to copy, and this copies the pose, not the bones. Then Control-I to switch over to the other side, and then Control-Shift-V to paste the pose in, and it will be flipped on its x-axis automatically. Okay, next we need to apply the pose as the rest pose. Otherwise, it's going to mess everything up when we go to skin this. So apply pose as rest pose. Actually, let's go ahead and do this again. Select all, apply pose as rest pose, just to be sure. Alright, so now when we go to edit mode, nothing should move. That's good. And when we go to object mode, we're looking fairly normal. Okay, so now select our model and then our rig, and then making sure our cursor is in the view port, press Control-P. Oop, we actually have that backwards. The rig, then the model, in the viewport, Control-P, and then make sure you select Armature Deform with Automatic Weights. And it's going to take a second to calculate it all out. Okay, now that's done calculating, we can go back into pose mode and select a bone, and when we go to rotate it, the whole arm goes with it. So we can select this and have the Alright. Yeah, there you go. That's how that goes. Nothing special, no frills, just skinned and rigged. The pose library and everything else is up to you at this point. So that's it. I hope this was helpful.